All right, guys. So I did a video about the Microtech, and then I showed it. I had it, and I've had it. I've had this for a while, and I carry it. I do carry it. I've been carrying it more now that I had it out of the case for the video. But now what we're going to talk about is that I had a couple people that there's some misconceptions about autos. And I wanted to get into them because some of them they're like those urban myths about autos. And so I thought, I started to do a live feed this morning. I was thinking about this last night when I talked to the guy. He's like, oh man, I can't believe you carry that. It's so dangerous. And I was like, why? And he told me some of the reasons why. I was like, that's so ignorant. And I didn't mean ignorant like that's so ignorant, like you're so fucking stupid. That's so ignorant as in the proper use of the word ignorant, like as in that is so misinformed. Like that is so making a decision based on lack of knowledge. It's ignorant. It is being ignorant of the truth. And so what we're gonna do is, since I tried to do a live feed this morning and it just was nothing, no one showed up, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a video in that time I would normally spend doing a YouTube video. So stand by, turn down the volume, because here comes the music. All right, guys. So, like I said, first things first, I did a live feed this morning. No one showed up. I deleted it. I was on there for 8 minutes. Only one person ever made a comment. That's not a good live feed. It's just, not a valuable good use of my time, so I took it down. So I have to apologize. Yesterday I did a video. I set it up as a premiere. I went to the neighbors. We got to bullshit, and the daughter was playing with their dogs. I helped move a deep freeze and did a couple things with him, and lost track of time, and I didn't get in on the live chat for yesterday's video. So I apologize. That's the first thing. So now let's get into the myths of autos. And so I have a friend, lives just down close to here, and he's like, oh man, you carry that? Isn't that like dangerous? Don't you worry about? And so I asked him, I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, some of the myths and misconceptions. He's like, well, aren't you, like, that blade could come flying out, right? And so some of the myths and misconceptions of autos, that was one of the first ones he said, and things like the big one that I've always heard. So let's start with the first one. And there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of them. The big one that is a 50-50. Like it could and couldn't happen. Not with this type. So accidental deployment. Accidental deployment. Let's take a look at that. Hang on a second, let me turn this around, let me show you why I don't think accidental with this model, this exact model, is not an issue.
Now, on these double action models, these Microtechs especially, I'm gonna show you, watch. Look at how much pressure you have to go almost the entire travel of that button, of that thumb slider, to get that thing to deploy. Look at that, you gotta go that far. And I am not gonna lie to you guys, it takes a lot of tension. It takes a lot of pressure. I actually have some friends, my wife gets so mad, there are knives everywhere in our kitchen, not to get off topic, some of my meds. But you could not, this is not going to, and the one was like, because I was showing him, I was like, yeah, it's just a thumb operated. And he's like, oh, you're not worried
that coming out of your pocket that's gonna catch? I was like, bro, it's not like an Emerson Wave feature. But the guy I was talking to never carries knives. And I was like, it's not like an Emerson Wave feature. He looked at me, he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh God, okay. And I was gonna get the gun and have the gun in the video and be like, there's as many misconceptions with this as there are with this. But I remember fucking YouTube's policy. I put a gun in this video and it's fucking definitely getting demonetized. So that's one of the misconceptions. This thing requires a good bit of force. I actually have friends that cannot deploy this. I have friends, the tension on this, especially, like I said, this has a different spring in it. Shut up, cat. This has a different spring in it. There was a guy for a while that was selling kits with a much stiffer spring. So the tension on this one, and it's starting to loosen up over time. The tension on this one is a good bit above the tension that was on it before. And that's because I put an extra spring on it. Even when I got it, it had fairly stiff tension. And I have friends that can't deploy this because the tension is so stiff. And so I was like, no, absolutely not worried at all. And then I handed it to him. I let him play with it. And so now the misconceptions is so gone. He understands now that I've alleviated his misconceptions. Now, I do have to say, there are some, not double actions, there are some that's a possibility, not a great possibility. Push button autos. Push button swing open autos are way more prone to this than any other type. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Microtech makes a model called the Halo, and it's a push button, single action, and then you have to push, it's a push button open, and then you have to pull the hand, there's a little plate at the back. You pull it back and it pulls the blade and it compresses the spring again, and then it locks back, and then you have to push the button again. Now they've done a really cool thing where the button is recessed, so it's not like you can accidentally bump it, and if you're right-handed, that button is going to be against your leg and not out against the pants where it would be stick, and it doesn't stick up proud where it would get bumped. So that one's fairly safe. I've actually handled and carried a Halo, and I never worried once that thing would deploy in my pocket, which would be, that's another a myth that we'll get to later that goes along with that, but never worried about that. It's the swing open ones that usually pose that issue where you bump it, you're worried about bumping it and it's swinging open and it comes open in your pocket. I actually had one. It was one of those little cheapy Italian ones that was a kit. I'd had it from when I was a kid. We put them together. We put the spring in the fucking thing. They sold it separate. You had to put the spring in. It came basically like this, and then you put the spring in it and activated the function of it being an auto. That one, the lock got old and stopped working. And at that point, it was no longer safe. So I gave it to Matthew just to add to his collection of autos because it just sits on a shelf. So, that being said, that one, yes, did have an issue where it would come open in your pocket because the button stood up. The button on that stood up really proud. It was right in the middle, and it just stood up, and it was massive. It looked like a swollen up tick, fat tick. So there's that. The deployment on double actions, no. Single action push buttons that are done well, like the Halo done by Microtech, I've never seen an issue with any of the Microtech stuff. So let's just get that off the plate. So the double action stuff, no. Single actions, possibly. But a lot of them have a secondary lock. Like this Benchmade that was sitting right here. It's right here. This Benchmade, it's an assisted, but it has a secondary lock. So you can treat it, you can basically treat it like a Switchblade. It has a secondary lock to keep you from deploying. You see what I'm saying? So you can, you could feasibly, if you forgot to do that, lock it, you could open that in your pocket. Okay, so there we go. Pocket deployment. Myth-ish. Could be, maybe, maybe not. Second one. Bro, those things are dangerous. You could just walk up to somebody and stick it against their side and just stab them like that and walk away. No, you fucking can't. You cannot. You cannot do it. You can't do it. It's impossible. You wanna know why? Because these things are mandatory, required to have what's called a derail. It's a function, and I'm gonna show you. This is just notebook paper, printer paper. It comes off its rails. Guys, would it hurt? Would it probably leave a mark? Did it get all the way, did it make a tiny, tiny, tiny little pinprick through all 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of that paper? Yeah, tiny. Could I put it against could I fucking thump it into my hand and probably just put a Band-Aid on it and be fine? Absolutely. So even if it did deploy in your pocket. Is it gonna really fuck you up? No. Even the Halo that has got a really powerful spring and it comes out and this rockets out, still is not going to punch a hole in your leg. So no. It has a derail. Now that, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, does not at all, people are like, oh, that's hard on it. It doesn't, it's designed that way. It's a safety feature. It does not at all damage your knife. If you are maintaining your knife well, doing that does not damage it. It actually, I got enough of a purchase. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that into my arm or leg. But is it gonna kill me? No. Is it gonna bleed a lot? Yeah, because I know how sharp that thing is. There's that second myth. The third myth, Jesus Christ, that fucking movie. Do you guys remember that Thomas Jane movie, The Punisher? So, remember how I showed you guys that there was a pin in this that held the blade in and locked it in place and kept it in? And it slid back and forth and the blade interacted with, and it was the only pin that was in there that held the blade in. If you guys remember that movie, The Punisher, with Thomas Jane, where he played Frank, Jesus Christ, those fucking seizure meds make me forget everything. Anyway, he played Frank, the Punisher, Frank Cable, no, not Cable. Oh, Jesus Christ, I wish I could remember. Why does it do this? Anyway, he had a little switchblade, the one guy that played the music, that fucking told him he was gonna kill him, and then he fucking pulled him at the drawbridge, and he pulls out this little switchblade, and he's like, you would be dumb enough to bring a knife to a gunfight, and he fucking flicks the switchblade, and the blade comes flying out and sticks the guy in the neck, and he dies. Guys, there is not enough spring pressure in this that when it derails to make it through a fucking cardboard box from this far away. What makes you think it's gonna go flying across a fucking 10-foot gap and stick somebody in the neck and kill them? It is just silliness that has been propagated by movie magic. So those are the big three. Those are the big three. And then the other one is that they are super, super highly illegal. And I have to admit that I have propagated that myth a little bit. The big thing with them is that they are not super illegal. They are 99% of the places that you will ever go. They are 100% legal for you to own, have in your collection, to purchase, to have sent to your house. And in a lot of places, lots and lots of places, they're perfectly legal for you to have in your pocket and carry around, as long as you're following local laws. But there are federal statutes against transportation and carry in specific places. So that's not a myth that I have propagated, that I've said they're fucking federally legal. They are there is a federal Switchblade Act of, I think, 1956 that has not been repealed. It would be great if it would go away. It's a stupid law anyway. It was one of those nanny state things, and people disagree with me about it. There was a racial bias behind that law. These switchblades were associated with specific ethnic groups, as were specific handguns. They tried to outlaw specific small revolvers, the Saturday night specials that were being... It was a racially biased decision. It doesn't read that way, but when you go back to the specifics of it, Latino gangs and Italians were associated with switchblades in that gang culture and the mafia culture, and it was just something that got propagated, and it passed. And it needs to go away. It's an arcane fucking thing. These are not dangerous. As a matter of fact, I don't think that these are any bit as good as one of these. As a matter of fact, that's faster and easier than a switchblade. So, you know, So guys, there's some myths and things to fill up that little gap that normally would have been filled with my morning coffee talk, my morning grind. We just dispelled some myths. It was Switchblade Mythbusters. And like I said, there are things that get put out there in the knife world that just wind up being silly. It goes back to like people telling me that you can't cut, that I can't sharpen high carbide steels on some of my water stones. I do admit, there are some steels that I cannot sharpen. There are some things I cannot sharpen on just aluminum oxide stones. Elliot has a knife that's tungsten carbide that he's going to mess around with and we're going to play with. It was sent to him by a guy that's developing a different thing. He's going to play with it. He sharpened it. He said it sharpens on silica carbide sandpaper. He's going to trash it and we're going to see how it holds an edge, and then I'm going to sharpen it on my stones and see how it takes one of my edges and just play around with it. We're going to do some experimenting for a guy that's doing some prototyping. It's a cool idea, but I know I can't sharpen those on aluminum oxide stones. I mean, maybe I could, but the fact is, like, the carbides we're talking about are at the 1 micron size. I take things to 1,000 grit and then up to 10,000 grit. I'm still refining the edge, and then I strop to 0.5 micron. So, and I'm using diamond matrix on my strop, so I'm still cutting those carbides. So, you know, I've gotten really good edges on those, on some steels that people say I shouldn't be able to. I've looked at them under a microscope, and I'm telling you that I don't see a difference. I'm not seeing carbide tear out. So, just those little silly myths, those little things that I don't put a lot of stock in. But I thought this would be fun. I thought you guys would get a kick out of it. So, like I said, I had free time because no one jumped in on the live feed. I don't know what's going on with the live feed this morning. I will tell you, I did block some. I have blocked. It feels like I've blocked a lot more people than I actually have. I'm just going to stop engaging with people like the guy I talked to yesterday. It feels like I wasted an entire day. I know I didn't. It was only technically a few minutes. But it just felt like I wasted an entire day, and I don't like the way that feels. So we're not going to do that anymore. We just won't engage. I'll let you guys engage. I'll leave comments up until it gets abusive and stupid. Like, he started mentioning stuff about my daughter, and that's the second my daughter gets brought into anything on this channel, unless it's like your daughter is so talented or anything like that. Brother, you're blocked. That's it. I hear anything about my daughter or anything like that, it's an immediate blockage. It's like eating too much cheese or chewing bubble gum and eating crackers at the same time. It's an immediate blockage. And so, but I went through my list of people I've blocked, and there's only like 12 people. So you guys would think over 3 years that I'd have blocked more people. It's 3. So, guys, I'm off of here. If you want to support my daughter's GoFundMe, it is down in the comments section below. Up here will be a video that YouTube thinks you like. Down here will be a video I think you like, which will probably be the other Microtech video since we're talking about switchblades. Down here will be a Patreon link, and up here will be a subscription link to the channel. So, guys, I hope y'all enjoy these videos. This one won't be that big a deal because there's not that much editing. So, you guys take it easy. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Where's my button?